Captain's log. So far, no sign of intelligent life forms.
Wow. That's awesome.
Looks like we might be spending the night.
What the hell?
Just stay in the car!
What the bloody hell are you mob doing out here? Scared the shit out of me.
So, where do you live?
Oh, I get around here. Never know where I might pop up.
What do you actually do?
I can tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. He's gonna kill him. Let's play.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Full Empire Promotions live event. I'm Dominic. I'll be your host for the special Q&A with John Jarratt. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, so thanks so much to everyone who's joining us live. If you'd like to ask John any questions or leave any comments, please feel free to do so and we'll bring them on screen and answer them. If you'd like to have your own private conversation with John, following this Q&A, he'll be having one-on-one video meet and greets on Zoom. You can have 5 minutes to chat with John about whatever you'd like, and we'll even send you a recording of your meeting. In addition, you can get personally signed photographs. For all that, please visit FullEmpirePromotions.com. Sales for the Zoom chats will end in about 1 hour, so if you're thinking of booking that, I'd head on over and do that now. And guys, I got to say, we're in for a treat today. Our special guest is one of the most humble, gifted, and talented actors. He's had an amazing career that has spanned over 40 years and counting. He's one of the most enduring and generous people that you'll ever meet. And he's my dear friend and client, John Jarratt. We'll be back in just a second with John.
What the bloody hell are you mob doing out here? Scared the shit out of me.
G'day.
Happy holiday!
You probably know him as the cunning and charming Mick Taylor from Wolf Creek, or from such films as Rogue, Dark Age, Picnic at Hanging Rock, and Django Unchained. He plays some of the meanest guys on TV, but is one of the kindest people off screen. Let's welcome John Jarratt.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, John, how are you?
Pretty good.
Thanks for welcome aboard. Thank you for joining us.
Butch and hairy and grizzly and full on. I thought, what about my feminine side?
Yeah, you're in quarantine mode. You got the shaggy hair and the beard and relaxed look.
I look like that at the best of times, mate. In between gigs, I just let all the hair grow. Nothing Brazilian about me. But no, I'm in cell block Sydney, I call it at the moment. We're in lockdown. What if we get an entire city? What Florida get in one street? They lock down here, so it's a bit insane. But anyway, I'm fine. I'm an old bloke anyway. I sit at home. I don't go out much. It doesn't matter. Doesn't really worry me.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when you think about it, because there's so many, there's spiders the size of silver dollars, and 10-foot snakes everywhere, and then they lock down over a couple of cases.
I know, mate. It's ridiculous, isn't it? But anyway,
yeah.
And all the bloody hippies and the Christian, all those anti-vaxxers. What is it about hippies and Christians who don't want to have a vaccine? I mean, what's going on there? I started out with the hippies. I was a hippie. They're giving hippies a bad name,
Yeah.
Just go and get the bloody vaccine and let's get over it all,
Yeah,
Crazy.
well, I think you'd have hippies from like real hippies, and then you have the new hippies that aren't really hippies.
Yeah. They go, my body's a temple. I'm not having a vaccine, Get off.
Exactly. So we've got C. Andrews is watching. He says, "What have you been doing not to go crazy in lockdown, John?"
Well, I ain't going crazy in lockdown, John, because I'm editing a movie. I wrote, directed, acted, and produced this film called What About Sal? And it's not at all scary. It's a beautiful domestic drama starring a Down syndrome man called Sal, and he goes through a lot of trauma, and his mum's dying, and he's got to find his estranged father, and goes into the city, and I look a lot like the estranged father, and it's a beautiful story, and Icon are going to distribute it, and it'll be out in Australia and at 80 cinemas in the new year. And I'm editing remotely. It's ridiculous. I got this massive screen, Dell screen, and my editor is in Queensland, which is like Texas is to you,
Right.
And we're editing remotely. So that's what I'm doing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm busy. I'm trying to get my movie cut and delivered, and so we can get it out there.
Great.
So yeah, I'm working.
Right, and we can keep up with What About Sal by looking at your social media links, right? But right below you there.
Yeah. My daughter Zadia is my manager, but she's also the producer of this film, and she's a bloody brilliant producer. So her producing of the post-production end of things gets in the road of my social media. So poor little bugger, she works all day, and then middle of the night she's got to think about, oh God, that's right, I manage this idiot as well, So yeah, so you can catch up on it, and she does get it together at about 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. So I'd like to start off talking about your origins a little bit. I understand you were born in New South Wales, Australia. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, I was born in a hospital in a place called Wollongong, which is an Aboriginal word meaning something, an Indigenous Australian word. I don't know what. But I was raised in a little coal mining village on the south coast of New South Wales, south of Sydney, a couple of hours south of Sydney, and that little coal mining village was called Wongawilli, which means windy hollow in the indigenous word for windy hollow. And my dad was a coal miner, and so I lived in this little miner's cottage, back in the 50s, and I was born before television even started, and we got a TV in about 58 and 1958, and I'm old. And so I was raised in the bush, and then we went from there to central Queensland and North Queensland, and sort of got through my childhood in the outback, and I learned all the Mick Taylor skills. I used to go hunting with my brother on foot, and back in Aramac in central Queensland in the middle of the outback, shooting pigs and kangaroos. You shoot kangaroos. But kangaroos are like squirrels in Australia. They're just everywhere. And there's 4 times more kangaroos in central Queensland than when Captain Cook, who first discovered Australia in the 1700s, 4 times more, because there's bore drains everywhere, arterial basin water. So kangaroos are not going to become extinct anytime soon. So I learned all those Wolf Creek skills out there, riding horses and all of that stuff. I couldn't ride a surfboard, but I can ride a horse. I come from the bush. In fact, I had my biography is called The Bastard from the Bush, but I'm putting a second edition out now. It was written a few years back, and we've changed the title to From Outback to Out Front. So that'll be out next year too.
Awesome.
Anyway, and when I was a young fella, my parents, I come from basically an Irish Australian family, Irish immigrants on both sides, and like all Irish people, they like a song and a dance and concerts, and my mum was a magnificent singer. She could have been a professional singer. My dad was a baritone, and so, funnily enough, although we were doing working class things like coal mining, and mum was stitching collars on shirts and stuff, but there was a concert mentality about the whole thing. So me moving towards acting wasn't a huge leap. My father was an absolute bloody show-off. He was acting all the time and very funny. And so I went to drama school in 1971. Yeah. So that's how I kind of got to the acting game.
Right. So did you have any influences on screen that you watched a lot? Like any favorite actors that said you watched and you said, man, I'd like to be an actor someday? Or was it just not come naturally through your dad?
No, I didn't. I used to go to the cinema in central Queensland, and it was a outdoor cinemas, so bloody hot out in the middle of North Queensland, that they didn't bother, and so little rain that they didn't bother with the roof, and it kept it cooler in the summer. And mate, what do you think they wanted to watch back in the 60s? John Wayne movies is all you ever saw. John Wayne. And so we didn't get, it wasn't an eclectic sort of mix of different genres. It was what the folks wanted, and it was mainly Westerns. So that didn't, I wasn't drawn to become an actor from John Wayne. But what happened is my family liked to put on concerts and reviews and stuff from town to town that we went to. And I went to high school in a place called Longreach in the middle of Queensland, central Queensland. And I put on a concert. I don't know why. I just did. I was always a show off. I was singing lead in a rock band, and I was about 16, and I put on a concert, and I gave myself all the best bits. And then at the end of it, the headmaster, Bob Spirit, said to me, Jarratt, I thought all you were good for was disturbing classrooms, but it seems that you've got the talent to become an actor. You could be an actor. And I said, an actor? And I said, yeah. He said, don't you have to come from Hollywood to be an actor? That's how naive I was. He said, no, anyone can be an actor. And he sowed the seed. And then a couple of years later, I was in Townsville at the end of high school, and this guy, Chris Cummings, who I played football with, also liked this thing, amateur theatre, which I wasn't interested in at all. And I said to Chris, I said, what are you doing when you leave high school? And he said, I'm going to NIDA, the National Institute of Dramatic Art. I said, what the bloody hell is that? And he said, it's a drama school in Sydney, which is about 2,000 miles away. And I said, do you have to have good results to get in there? He said, no, you just got to pass an audition. I said, oh, this bloke said, this high school teacher said I should become an actor. I'll come with you. So I bopped along. We jumped in a tourist bus and went down to Brisbane, which is the capital city of Queensland. And I did an audition, and he did, and we both got in. And I ended up doing 3 years in the drama school.
Wow. Wow. Very cool. What is your first memory of landing your first professional job? What was your impression?
My first professional job
On screen.
On screen. Thank you, because I was going to have to go
on screen.
pretty bad theatre stuff. I came out of NIDA in end of 1973. So 74, I got a couple of plays and a musical. I walked straight out into work, and then I did a couple of telly plays, they called it, on television for the ABC, which only lasts an hour long. So I did a bit of TV, and then I auditioned for a movie in about April of 1974, and it was about an Australian rules football player, and I play rugby league. I never played Aussie rules, but that doesn't matter. They're in different states, different games. Anyway, I auditioned for this film, playing a football star, and I got it. And I was 21. I was a few months out of drama school, and I had a lead in a movie. I played McCarthy in The Great McCarthy with a lot of very notable Australian actors that the audience out there would not know, because they're back in the 70s, before most of you were born, and including Dom.
But I do know a lot of older actors, but yeah.
Yeah. But the most famous actor that I worked with in that was probably, that you would possibly know, is Barry Humphries, who played Edna, who's Edna Everidge, housewife superstar, but you probably don't. Anyway, so I played the lead in the movie, and I couldn't believe it. This kid from Queensland playing a lead in a movie. It was insane. And the movie didn't do any good, but it doesn't matter. It was still a movie. And and then I walked straight out of that, went back to Sydney, and I got a screen test for a film called Picnic at Hanging Rock, which is an iconic film and very famous film. And I got one of the supporting roles in that. It's a decent role, and and it launched me into the film business. And I worked with Peter Weir, who's famous for a lot of big Hollywood movies. Dead Poets Society, Master and Commander was probably the last big one he made over there. He's very famous director, Peter Weir. Brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah, he was 32 when he made Picnic at Hanging Rock. It's his second feature film, and he was a bit like Greg McLean. He was very inexperienced but insanely talented. So I was very lucky to be in the film that rekindled the Australian film industry, basically.
Yeah.
So I had a dream start, and I've continued for 46 years now. So.
Yeah, I was going to mention Picnic at Hanging Rock. There's a really nice Blu-ray that came out through Criterion here, and I think the film is just really beautiful. It has a classic and kind of haunting look to it. What are your thoughts when you first met Peter Weir, and what do you remember about the premiere of the film? Were you impressed with it when you saw it for the first time with an audience?
Well, Peter Weir, I realized, and you said the look of the film, that was Russell Boyd, who'd only shot cigarette and airplane commercials.
Wow.
He was only 32 as well. we didn't make movies. There was no movies in 1971 when I went to NIDA. There weren't any Australian movies. And then by 1974, we had an explosion, and suddenly all these guys come out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
And I was extremely. So the combination of those two guys, I saw the rushes, and when I first met Peter, I just knew that there was something very smart, and when I got on set, I said, this guy really knows what he's doing. There's certain directors I've worked with who have this wonderful overview of their film. They know exactly where it is and where it's going and what they've got to do at that particular time, because it's right out of sequence. And he knew exactly what he was going to do and how he was going to do it. And I very rarely work with people like that. Tarantino's another one. He doesn't look at the monitors. When I direct, I don't look at the monitors either. I stand beside the camera because it's all about the performance. Difference between a documentary and a feature film is actors. And I don't want to be seeing an actor on a little screen this big. I want to be looking in their faces and seeing what they're doing. And Greg McLean is the other one. He was also dreadfully inexperienced, but extremely talented. And he knew exactly what he wanted to do with Wolf Creek. So I knew I was in good hands. I knew I was on something special when I made that movie, because I made the other one, which was just a sort of a sex rom-com thing, the football one. But I knew I was onto something really spectacular. And when I saw the rushes, or the dailies as you call them, and saw some of the shots that Russell Boyd was coming up with, I thought, my goodness, we're onto something here. Yeah. And then the premiere was, it was just a dream, everyone loved it. And it was just a really warm, joyful experience, as I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful film. If anybody hasn't seen it, I'd get that Criterion Blu-ray and check it out.
Yeah.
C. Andrews is asking, what's your theory of what happened to the missing girls at Hanging Rock?
I'm going to be about to destroy everything by telling you that it's bullshit. The whole premise of the story, it wasn't on Valentine's Day. There were, I think, 3 young girls from a school near there, Mount Macedon, who went missing. And the rumors, and were never seen again. And there were rumors that they were kidnapped and taken to Sydney and put into prostitution, that they went for a walk over to the rock and got lost in all the caves and chasms that are in that rock. It is a spooky place, I've got to say. So the writer of the book, Picnic at Hanging Rock, romanticized that a little and turned it into a day trip and Valentine's Day, and they all went missing on the rock. And it was based on a very small fact of 3 girls going missing. It's like Wolf Creek is based on actual events. An actual event means, everyone, we're having an actual event right now.
Exactly. Hollywood's version.
It's pretty broad.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I want to talk about a film you did called The Odd Angry Shot, which kind of reminds me of The Deer Hunter in a way, because of the whole PTSD thing. But you worked with a great actor on that, Graham Kennedy.
Yeah.
And, he did a film that I really enjoyed called The Killing Fields.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about working with Graham?
Graham Kennedy was the Johnny Carson of Australia. And he was absolutely brilliant. To me, he was better than Carson because he ad-libbed every night, day in, night in, night out. In Melbourne Tonight was the name of the show. And he was just a born genius. He was so funny, so witty, so intelligent, and just a lovely little guy. He's only a little fella, Yeah. And for me to be cast in the Odd Angry Shot with Graham Kennedy was like, wow. You know, I was a kid and I used to watch him on TV, and everyone knew him, but he was a really good actor. You know, a lot of these people from TV, pretty ordinary. You know, who try to make the crossover. But that's why he's so good in Melbourne Tonight, because he was very observant and his characters were striking, and he played all sorts of crazy little characters and sketches. And then I had the honor of working with him, and he's a really good actor. But that film was like full of all the Aussie icon actors of the time. Brian Brown, who's still a good mate of mine. Mm-hmm. And he's doing what we call episodics these days. You know, all that stuff you see on Netflix and stuff.
Right.
And he's doing one of those in in northern Queensland as we speak. And we're locked down here, right? And I was offered a part in it, and then this happened, and I can't go anywhere. And I think he went into isolation or something. Wow. So, but it worked out fine because Steve Bisley, the Goose, you know the Goose?
Sure.
From Mad Max.
Mad Max, yeah.
He's in WA, and that's a good place. So he got a gig out of it, and he's one of my best mates. So I was happy with that. So Brian Brown was on that, and I love Brian. And a bloke called John Hargraves, who the Butch Queen of New Orleans, I used to call him. He was a gay guy, but he could also punch you in the mouth if he gave you too much. He'd probably come off second best. So I call him the Butch Queen of New Orleans. And he always played heterosexuals. And he was brilliant. He was a really, really good actor. And we lost him to AIDS in the 90s. And that was very sad. So there was a great bunch of people on the Odd Angry Shot. In fact, a journalist said to me, because we got a bit of a cringe factor in Australia, a journalist said to me, as they often do, "Who's your favourite actor?" And I said,
hard question.
I got a lot of favourite actors. That's a very hard question. But she said, "I'll just name one." And I said, "Oh, okay, John Hargraves." And she said, "Oh no, I meant internationally, not Australian." I said, "Oh, really? Oh, okay then, John Hargraves." So yeah, the Odd Angry Shot was just the best, and we got kicked out of everywhere in the Gold Coast, everywhere. We were sex and drugs and rock and roll and drunkenness and craziness, and we were we played these crazy soldiers, and we were a bit soldierish on the Gold Coast. We shot it in the hinterland of the Gold Coast, but of an evening and a weekend, we would go a bit crazy, and we managed to get kicked out of all the night spots in there for misbehaviour. But we had a lot of fun. Yeah. And the film itself, I think it was a great depiction of what Vietnam was all about, and it was real. I thought the script was great, and I love it when actors, when it's real and you can feel like you're part of it, and it's not bunged on, and it's not Rambo, running through the bush with 17 million machine guns hanging off every shoulder. It was actually what happened, and that's why I think it's so good.
Yeah. I think what's great about it is the chemistry between all the actors, as you said. You could tell you guys were just having fun, enjoying working together.
Yeah, and we're all still good mates. Graham Kennedy's gone to God, and Hargraves has gone to God, but the rest of us are still here, and we're still real good friends.
Great. Well, I want to mention a film you did in 1982, I believe, called Next of Kin.
Yeah.
Was that your first horror film?
Yeah, it was, and I played a good guy, and I played the boyfriend of the lead actress.
Are you a fan of the horror genre personally?
I'm a fan, again, when I believe in it, when I believe it could happen. I don't like zombie movies. People often say, what would Mick Taylor do if zombies took after him? I said, he'd just tear him to pieces. I said, I don't know what is so scary about them. I mean, they're falling to bits. They walk slower than your nana. You know, it's not like you can't get away from the bloody idiots. And I just don't understand that. That doesn't scare me at all. The Exorcist, I thought that was a great comedy when she threw, especially when the green pea soup came out of the mouth. I was on the floor. But the great horror films for me are the ones, again, that I believe could happen, you know, like Psycho. It's gone out of my head. Robert Mitchum and Robert De Niro played the part. Cape Fear.
Cape Fear.
When you know that could happen, Boston Strangler, the Tony Curtis film, that based on what can happen. I'm not a big fan of Marvel or any of that sort of stuff. It doesn't do it for me, you know. How many times do I say New York?
Yeah. Same here, and it's also a lot of those Marvel movies aren't even really movies. I mean, 90% of them are CGI.
Yeah.
You feel like you're watching a video game.
Yeah, and women being tough. I'm not being a sexist here, you know, but I did a TV show called this is just fact. I did a TV show called McLeod's Daughters, you know, and they'd have the three girls there. It was about the girls running the farm, and you'd have the three girls, and you're about to talk to them, and they had a crowbar, and they're digging a hole for a fence post, and you're standing there, and they're banging, it's falling out, and they're about 30, 40 years younger than I was, and in the end, they were going for a take. So I said, give me the bloody thing. I'd loosen it up for them and hand it back. And then they make out they were doing it. You know, I just don't like bullshit. That's all.
Right.
I don't like bullshit. And so when I make films, I like to believe, I don't mind stretching it a little, but you know what I mean? Based on a bit of factors.
Yeah.
Good for me.
Suspension of disbelief has to be raised. You know.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about a film you did called Dark Age, which is your first of many, I believe, like animal attack films. I think this film's terribly underrated. A really good film. And can you talk about filming some of the scenes with the croc? How many of the scenes were a real croc?
Quentin loves this film. Quentin Tarantino loves this film, and he's got the only print on Earth, and he brought it to Australia, and we all went along and had a look at it. I think it's a shit film myself.
Really? Oh,
yeah,
great.
I don't like it. I never liked it. Maybe because it wasn't a lot of fun to make, you know. It was a struggle to make it. The crocodile didn't work. They spent $250,000 on the crocodile, and I thought, and then they put it in the water and swam for a minute, and then went and short circuited and went to the bottom and had to drag it out and take it back to the drawing board. And this is before CGI and all that, you know. This is in the 80s, and the bloke from Dark Crystal would build the crocodile. It looked great, just didn't operate very well. Anyway, out of frustration, the art department, Australian crews are very innovative. The art department got a crocodile head, put a couple of broomsticks in the hinge where the jaw was, and we got in the boat, and they shut. And a couple of them of the art department went underwater with the scuba gear on, and then they said action. They had to hold their breath so the bubbles stopped, and they say action, and out would come the jaw, and they go snap, snap with a couple of broomsticks, you know. And worked a trick, and we called the crocodile Chris, and we called the broomstick one, we call him Christ, our savior. But the crocodile was terrible. But somehow we shot around this stupid crocodile, and then the art department got this idea of a sort of a hydraulic ram, and they put a head on the hydraulic ram and scooted that out and made it open and snapped closed. And so the $250,000 one was just a waste of time. And then I'll be at the back of the boat, and the crocodile's supposed to be going snap, 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 and I'll be at the back of the boat and I'm trying to wrap the rope around it, and it'll go. I was trying to make that look like it was scary. I just had such a terrible time trying to make that work. Again, reality was too suspended, but somehow they cut around it. But I think every time I watch it, I just see, oh, that was a horrible day when I see it. But yeah, the script was great and everything was terrific. But the crocodile let me down, but it didn't let Quentin down, and obviously didn't let you down. So that's good.
Yeah. Imagine that. Now you know how Roy Scheider felt when he was filming Jaws.
Sorry?
Now you know how Roy Scheider felt when he was making Jaws, because the shark.
So well, yeah, I suppose people in those days suspended that reality and thought, okay, we know it's a dummy, but let's pretend it's a shark. So that's that child thing in you, that when you play, you turn some old bomb into a truck in your backyard and you think you're driving a truck down the highway. I think maybe that's what saved us back in those days. Sure. I don't know.
Yeah. There's a scene in Dark Age where a kid gets eaten, and it's brutal, because you really don't see kids killed on screen much.
No.
The scene looked really good. Were you there when they filmed that? I know you were you?
And that was luckily because they didn't. In that part of the script, they didn't show too much of the crocodile, so that was again done with the bits ahead. And that was done with the El Cheapo model, but that worked well because it was all pretty well underwater. And it's only when the crocodile stuck his head out and had to do stuff that we had trouble.
Yeah. So the ending scene when the croc's lowered on a harness, was that the actual $250,000 prop?
There, and then it's supposed to walk.
Yeah.
The thing, and it's kind of hurry up. Numb and Worry was the name of the bloody thing. No Worries, I called it. Numb and Worry. Come on, Numb and Worry, get to the pond. It was like a children's program. Come on, crocodile, into the pond. I just had such a hard time making that movie.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great film, and it's definitely found some sort of an audience, internationally.
Yeah. Well, I was the only real thing in it, so I thought I'd better make it. I better do a good job. Me and the actors.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about the role that sort of established you to fans in the U.S. 2005, you played Mick Taylor in the film Wolf Creek. Can you tell us about how this role came up and what the audition process was like?
I didn't audition. I don't audition. I don't audition these days. Excuse me.
Wow.
Okay. Audition? What? Screen test? You don't know what I'm doing? Go any one of 50 films and see if you can find it.
Exactly.
Something. No, I funnily enough, back in the 90s, early 90s, Greg McLean did the director's course at NIDA. And NIDA had a professional arm. They got a really amazing theatre that Mel actually paid for. It's worth $1 million. He put $1 million towards it. Mel was at NIDA as well, Mel Gibson. And so you go there and they had these seasons with professional actors. And I did a play called Dead Hard, right? And it was quite successful. And I played this hard-ass policeman in the middle of Central Australia. And he was a tough guy. Anyway, Brian Brown, of all people, he liked it and he bought the rights to it and he gave himself my role, bastard. Anyway, but he was nice enough to give me one of the supporting roles. So I was in the movie as well. But anyway, Greg McLean saw that, and I was known for playing nice guys up till then.
Yeah,
mainly. Even in Dark Age, I was a good bloke, you know.
Yeah.
And but he'd seen that play and he thought Jarratt could play that role because he saw that I could play nasty bastards really well, and it stuck in his mind. And when he wrote it, and so he had me in mind all along. And then I read the screenplay, and I thought, if they can get this on the screen, I think it'll do pretty well. I didn't think it was going to do the amazing business that it did do. So I went to Melbourne, and at the time, Greg was pretty broke. Again, he'd never made a movie. And he was living above a shop in Brunswick Street in Melbourne. Anyway, so I met him downstairs, and we sat at a table, and he said, well, we've only got 1.1 to make this. I said, okay. And we're going to make it with, it's just going to be it's a digital camera, not a movie camera. And that was brand new back in 2000. This was 2003. We made it in 2004, at least 2005. So I wasn't used to that. I mainly, up till then, worked with Panavision cameras, and the digital world had only just begun in the movies. And so I said, okay. And I said, what's the director of photography done? What dramas has he done? It's none. We worked together on a few commercial things and blah, blah, blah. So, oh, okay. And and how much work have you done? And he said, well, this is my first film. Said, okay, right, terrific. And we've got 1.1 to make it. Yeah, you're going to throw trucks off cliffs. You're going to for 1.1 million.
They did a good job with it for that.
Yeah, so I'm not going to get paid a lot then. No. So, and then I said, there's 2 English actresses. You know, how are you going to audition English actresses and bring them over here for 1.1? So we get Australians to make it. I said, okay. So I walked away thinking, we're in trouble. This is going to be a piece of shit, you know. And, but I still hung in there, and I really liked the character. So I went home, and it took 6 months from there to when we started. I got the accent. My dad's got a natural deep voice, and my dad was 5'8", and he weighed about 14.5 stone of blood and muscle. You know, he's a ball of muscle. He was like a tree trunk.
Right.
He had a deep voice, and he didn't lose many fights. He was a tough guy, but he was funny. He was very funny, tough guy, and born and raised in the bush, in the outback, and born in Newenden in the middle of nowhere. So I thought I'll base Mick Taylor on Dad. It's good because it's good to take as much as you can from what you know.
Sure. Real life.
Dad was everything Mick Taylor is, except Dad's not a psychopath and Dad wasn't a serial killer.
It's good to know.
I had to add that to the mix. He could throw you up against a wall. He was pretty good at that. Excuse me. There's a bit of noise going on. Excuse me. Keep it quiet, please. Thank you. So yeah. So that's, and he had a deep voice, and so I did that voice. So when I put a bit of growl into it, and it just goes down for some reason, and I can maintain that all day because I went to drama school and I'm NIDA trained, and I can talk like that. So I did that, and I could do that all day, and then I thought, I said to Greg, I'm going to look for a laugh that starts out as a chuckle, But towards the end of the movie, when you ever hear it, it's going to sound like Jaws music, dun 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 dun. So that chuckle.
Yeah.
And it took a long time to come up with it, but I came up with it, and I had a dog, a Labrador dog called Buddy, and I was standing around, and I went, and the dog went like this, and I think I'm onto something, and so that's why I did the laugh. I thought that would be a good thing, and anyway, so then we made the movie, and I came on set, and they all looked like they knew what they were doing, and that was refreshing. I felt comfortable with Greg.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Peter Weir, I just knew that, okay, he knows, he's onto it, and he understands the genre. He's a big fan of the genre. And the director of photography, Gibbo, he was like Russell Boyd. He was bloody amazing. He did most of it off the shoulder,
Wow.
He was like, It's like a human tripod, and it's steady as, and brilliant cinematographer. So I had the funny voice and the funny laugh, and I thought, this is either going to be a fantastic character or a really bad Warner Brothers cartoon character. I think there's not going to be any in between. So I was scared stiff the first day when I had to open my mouth and do something, but it worked.
For sure. Too good.
Yeah. Too good. I like too good. I'll go with that.
Yeah. So the Mick character, it's an easy character to get out of. It's just like a light switch. You can flip them on, flip them off.
Not then I couldn't, because it was new to me. I just learned to ride the bike, and I was still a bit wobbly. So I wasn't. They shot all of the kids stuff. The first third of the movie, I'm not in it. They shot all of that first. So I got in I rented a vehicle, and I headed from Adelaide up to a place called Lake Eyre, which is 6 hours away, just on my own, and just to get that feeling. So I drove this car in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, as we say in Australia, and ended up I stayed in grotty little hotels along the way in tiny little towns, and got out to Lake Eyre, but it had rained out there, so it was all muddy. I couldn't drive out there. You had to take an airplane. So I stayed in this old hotel that night, beautiful old weatherboard hotel. I can't remember the name of the town. It's the last town before Lake Eyre, and which is a dry lake most of the time. And anyways, I'm there trying to get into the Mick Taylor mood, and be a loner and all that, and keeping to myself. And so I went down and I had a meal in this pub. I only just got there, and this Indigenous family came in, and this big bubbly woman who was the mum of half a dozen of these kids, and she looked across. She says, "Hey, aren't you Terry from McLeod's Daughters? You're Terry from McLeod's Daughters. Hey, it's Terry from McLeod's Daughters." And all that started, and I just got up. It wasn't good for my Mick Taylor character.
No. That's like a family show, like a wholesome family show, right?
I'll just get up and get in the car, go back and do the job. So I drove back, and so I kind of had to prepare for it, and I was playing a serial killer, and so it was a big deal then, to make sure I was in the right place. So I often say I'm not a method actor. I'm a professional actor, but there was a little bit of method there,
Sure.
at the stage. But now, I played the character 2 TV series and another movie, so it's like riding a bike now. I can drop out, no trouble.
Awesome. Well, speaking of that, Wolf Creek 2 came out about 7 years after the first film. Were you shocked when you found out this was being made, or was a sequel always planned?
Always planned.
It was always planned.
Yeah. He spent a long time getting it right and getting it different.
Sure.
He it means a lot to him. And he said, doesn't matter what I do, I'm going to get hammered. Someone will say it was nowhere near as good as the first one, and blah, blah, blah. But he said, I just got to make it different. But it's still got to have the strain going through it.
Sure.
That the first one did. And so he made it more of an action adventure movie, a bit more like Duel, chasing him on that big truck and all of that sort of stuff. But and the most extraordinary part of that film for me was when I do the torture scene and I do the quiz and get him to answer questions. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
So it was really worth waiting for. I love both of the movies, and I can't say which is better than the other because I think they're different. One's dark and creepy, and the other one's sort of out there and brassy and in your face. I think they're both really good.
Yeah. I felt like the first one kind of, was dark. Mick was kind of dark and hidden, and we really didn't know fully about him. And then once he comes out of the light, he just has fun. He's just witty and he just has fun, and all bets are off. We
couldn't do that twice.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
he had to be out of the bag from the get-go in Wolf Creek too,
Yeah.
The second movie, taking out the coppers, that was a bloody good start.
Yeah. So many of us have wanted to do that. So
I know that's when all you people out there listening to this, that's when you're sick as I am, because I see in people's eyes when I talk about grabbing the copper and ripping his leg and then throwing the match in and going, oh, and the look of, oh yeah, you give it the coppers, and you're thinking this is fun. That what he just did to those policemen, what does that make you? So as I often say, everyone's got someone in their life that they would like to kill.
Sure.
And you see the little flash in the eyes, and you see, even if they say, "Oh, not me," oh no, you see the little flash in the eyes of the person that they thought of that they'd like to kill.
Exactly. Yeah. Somebody's asking, were any kangaroos hurt in Wolf Creek too?
No, that was all digital. All digital. Yeah, there was a couple hurt in series 1. They were real kangaroos, and I gutted them. But that's a done thing in Australia. They use that for, as I said, they're plague proportions, and they use them for. You can eat kangaroo here.
Yeah, kind of like deer.
Yeah. Oh, it's really good meat. But yeah, in series 1, they delivered those 2 kangaroos, and of course I'm from Central Queensland, and I used to shoot them. I know how to gut them, so I actually did gut them and threw them in the back of the truck. They were real, and then Lucy Fry, who played the American girl racing across the bush trying to find me. She's Australian, by the way. She played in American. We can sure in hell do your accent, but you can't do ours. No, sure.
Kentucky.
Yeah, what? Anyway, so she topped it. I love Lucy Fry. She gave as good as she got all the time. And I said, I just gutted a couple of kangaroos, Lucy. What does that make you? Trying to be female Taylor. Anyway, she gutted a bloody rabbit a few days later, just to give it to me.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna mention, Wolf. You did 2 seasons of Wolf Creek, the TV series, and they just look beautiful. They were shot so well. I mean, it's almost like a National Geographic tour of Australia, the way they're shot. And and the pilot episode, you just destroy her family. It just sets the tone for the whole show because all bets are off, nobody's safe.
Yeah, because we're thinking all the Wolf Creek fans. So we're doing a TV show, and I said to Greg, the first thing they're going to think is, TV show. It's not going to be scary. So Greg made it very scary from the get-go. So we just slaughtered a family, and then thought, there you go. Now we'll get on with it. It's still a horror film,
And that was just the start. That was a sample.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Mick Taylor ever had to move to America, where do you think he would live?
If he had to move to America, where would think he would live? Wow.
I think he would be lost in L.A.
Oh no! He'd hate LA. He couldn't handle that. No. He'd be northwest of San Francisco very quickly. He'd be out of there. I think he'd be. Where would he go? Probably Florida.
Yeah.
Probably down there where all those crocodiles are, alligators or whatever you call them over there. They're alligators, not crocodiles.
Yeah.
As big as we call them crocodiles.
Yeah, I think he'd fit in there. I think so.
Back of the Black Bayou.
Yeah, well, we're going to wrap up here in a sec, but I do want to mention you had a memorable part in Django Unchained.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how that came to be and what it was like working with Tarantino? I know he's a big fan of as you mentioned, Dark Age.
Yeah, well, it goes back a fair way. He got off the plane in 2003 with was it Kill Bill? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm driving home in North. I was lived in Queensland at that stage. I'm driving home when I lived in a country town from the airport in Queensland, which is a long way away. And I got a phone call from my agent, and apparently Tarantino got off the plane and said, "I want to meet John Jarratt. He's my favorite Australian actor." And so I was rung up about that, and they said, "Would you be able to make it to the premiere this evening?" And I said, "Well, I'm in the middle of bloody Queensland, and it's 5 o'clock, and you're going to start in 2 hours, so I won't be able to do that." And anyway, so I hung up the phone, and I thought, oh, he probably says that about Russell Crowe and everyone else. You know, I thought it was a bit of a beat up or something. So I went home and thought, well, there you go. Hollywood calls and I can't make it. So, and I got home and I got another call and said, "Tarantino's really upset that you can't make it. Would you mind having a drink with him at Circular Quay in Sydney tomorrow afternoon?" And I went, "Oh, I'll just look at the diary. Yep, I'm available." Okay.
Wow, good timing.
So I went down there and I had a drink with him, and he told me he knows more about Australian movies than I do, and he was enamored with Dark Age and also the other one, horror movie, just gone out of my stupid head that you mentioned. That was your first horror movie.
Next of Kin.
Next of Kin.
Yeah.
And there's a shot at the end of Next of Kin, which is extraordinary. And he wanted to know how the hell we did it. So I told him about that. And then we had a good talk. And he said, "I'd like to pencil you into one of my films one day, right?" So, "Oh, that'd be nice." And then what was the stuntman one called?
Planet Terror.
Huh?
Was it Planet Terror? Or Grindhouse? Grindhouse
one, yeah, that one. And he had a part in there for me, was called the Dingo Bar or something, and I was going to play an Aussie in that. And then he changed his mind and thought, no, it's not really working. He's going to make it an American bar, and he played the part, and as it's an American bar. So I almost got into something proof. What's it called?
Death Proof.
Death Proof.
Yeah.
Death Proof. Anyway, so I thought, oh, bugger. So I missed out on that. Anyway, and then he did Django, and he had a part in that for me, you know. And then Django, I was at the end of the schedule. Me and Anthony LaPaglia, who I really love, but he had to pull out because they kept moving the dates, and so I didn't get to work with Anthony LaPaglia, another great Aussie actor.
Yeah.
And anyway, so Quentin ended up playing an Aussie, and in the scenes that I did, and they were so far behind that they cut half of my there was another huge scene at the homestead that went, and I got in a punch up and everything. And that. Anyway, we cut that, and we just did the bit that you saw. And then Quentin's Aussie accent was really good, except of 3 words, right? I sat there on my days off. I didn't have to, but I sat there and made sure that when he said his speeches, all of which was cut out of the movie, most of it, and to make sure that he got the Aussie accent right, because he kept going Roger. And I said, no, it's Roger. Roger. You know, he got it. But we nailed it. We nailed the speeches, you know, and he did them really, really well. And the very first thing that he says in the movie as an Australian, right? 3 words. And he thought, it's only 3 words. So he didn't bother getting me in on 3 words. So he got off the horse and he says to Jamie Foxx, shut up, Blick. Blick.
You trying to say bloke?
Black. Shut up, Black. Shut up, Blick. Blick is South African. It's how South African people say, shut up, Blick. And every Aussie anyway, just said, can't do the Aussie accent. That's South African. So it all fell out the window. But that's the only thing he buggered up, and that's the only time I wasn't there. And you know how Aussies say black?
Black.
Black. You didn't even have to try. Shut up, Black. Just to take the up out of it. Shut up. And, you know, shut up, Black. Anyway. I give him a little slap in the face when I saw him next time.
Yeah.
But no, it's fantastic to have been in to say that I've been in one of his films.
Hopefully there's future films of his you're going to be in as well.
You got one? We better talk him into making an Aussie film because he loves Aussie films.
Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't.
Make his last film in the Aussie movie. He's only got one lately, reckons. I don't believe that.
No, I don't believe it either. I think he loves the craft too much to not do it.
Yeah.
So, but you did get to work with a great actor, Michael Parks, you know, for your scene.
Yeah. Oh, Michael Parks, who kept telling me stories about, Robert Mitchum and stuff. You know, he was a lot of fun.
Yeah, he was a great guy. Great guy.
Yeah.
Well, I guess a lot of fans are asking, is Mick Taylor coming back? You know, you're allowed to say anything about the status of Wolf Creek, a 3rd movie or a 3rd TV series?
I think most of the fans out there probably know that we got a really good pre-sale.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're going to make it next year, and we're going back to the dark and dingy kind of feel that we had in the first one, and it's really good, and absolutely looking forward to it.
Great. Is there anything else out recently that you want to mention, or anything in the works you can talk about?
Yeah, well, I played an exorcist in a film called Possessed. The guy who made Boar, Chris Sun, and that's coming out in Australia towards the end of the year. They've got a cinema release of some sort, and I'm going up for the premiere of that in September. And I played an exorcist, which is really full on.
Very cool.
Yeah. So it's forward to.
Well, hopefully there's no green pea soup, or you won't be able to stop laughing.
I don't know what they've done with the special effects. I haven't seen the finished product.
Yeah.
But I'll probably throw a bit of something spewing out of someone's face, I suspect. Yeah. So there's that. And What About Sal, which is going to be released early next year in Australia. And if it's a big hit, I think Icon will take it to the rest of the world. Great.
And we have one fan question here that came up from Everchanger. What were your most and least favorite moments while filming Wolf Creek 1 and/or 2?
Well, it was Wolf Creek 2, which we shot in winter in the desert, right? And it's freezing. It's like any desert. I think it's the same in your country.
Yeah.
It's below freezing. And the moment I hated was when they said it's a wrap, and my walk from set to the wardrobe truck to get changed, because this is really weird. But when I played Mick, I never put a jacket on. I had the short sleeve shirt, the Mick outfit, and I didn't feel cold while I was in the Mick mood until they said it's a wrap, and then I'd be walking back to the thing and I'd feel the cold, and it was cold.
Wow.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
But that's the way it was.
It's adrenaline, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I didn't feel cold when I was
Wow.
Mick.
Wow.
But
Mick's a warm guy, I guess, at heart.
when I do Mick, I am Mick, you know. I don't kill anyone, but I'm as Mick can be, you know. And I don't take any shit. And someone says something to me, I might say something nasty back to them, but they all understand that.
Yeah.
But because you can't go over and we'll need you in about 20 minutes. You can't go over and have a coffee and then say, hey, how you doing? Let's talk about the football. And, you know, and how's your girlfriend? And then, John, we're ready. You're going to come and cut this girl's tits off. Come on.
Exactly. You got to have that time to transition, I guess, into back into John.
Well, I just kind of stay there when I'm on set. Once I go in and I put the outfit on and get the makeup on, and when I get out of the chair and I walk out, I'm in the Mick mood, you know.
Awesome. Well, we will look forward to Wolf Creek 3 and What About Sal, and anything else you have. We'll anybody who wants to keep updated, follow John on social media. They're below at Real John Jarratt.
Yeah.
And I have one final question to wrap up. What were you saying?
I'm on FaceTube, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yeah.
Instagram, sorry.
There you go. And I have one question I'm going to ask that I like asking everybody that I talk to, and every actor. It's probably going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But if you could pick any actor to star in a film with you and any director to direct it, who would you pick? And there's two caveats. They both have to still be alive, and they have to be people you've never worked with before.
Oh, okay. Well, I only worked with him once, but definitely Mel Gibson. But I did Summer City, but that's the only film I've ever done with him. But I can't use him, right?
No.
And they got to be alive.
Got to be alive.
And a director I haven't worked with.
Yep.
Okay. Johnny Depp, and director I haven't worked with. Scorsese.
There you go. I was thinking I had David Fincher in mind. I just can see you meshing with him.
Who?
David Fincher.
Who's David Fincher?
He made a film called Zodiac, and he made The Social Network and Gone Girl.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And Seven, you know, the film with Brad Pitt, Seven.
Yeah.
I think it's you.
I don't know him.
Yeah.
Very
cool.
Yeah.
So Johnny Depp, John Jarratt, and directed by Martin Scorsese. We'll
We'll
throw that out there in the universe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, John, thanks so much for spending the time. It's been great getting to know a little bit more about you, and hopefully we'll get to hang out at a convention soon.
Well, we better, or I'll sack you.
Once you're allowed out of the country, you know, we'll get some things.
Yeah, it won't be long. We've had the vaccine. Don will be right. We're allowed to travel, mate. We'll be fine. See you in 2022.
Yeah. And this is our time, guys, but it doesn't have to be yours. You can chat with John one-on-one on Zoom right after this Q&A. Head on over to fullempirepromotions.com and check that out. All right, John, thanks so much. We'll see you shortly.
Okay, mate.
Thanks a lot.
Bye now.
As you can see, guys, John has some amazing stories. I'd urge you to go and book a meet and greet if you want to know more. If there's questions you didn't get to ask, you can ask him personally. And you can get signed photographs as well. Visit fullempirepromotions.com to check all that out. That's it for this one, guys. Thanks so much, and have a great night or morning if you're in Australia watching this. Take care.